Hello, and welcome to the Quiet and Strong podcast, especially for introverts. I'm your host, David Hall, and the creator of quietandstrong.com. This is a weekly podcast dedicated to understanding the strengths and needs of introverts. Introversion is not something to fix, but to be embraced. Normally, we will air each episode on Monday morning. Be sure to subscribe. This show will be full of myth busting on introversion and our personalities. One of the big ones is that introversion is not synonymous with shyness. An introvert can be shy as well as an extrovert can be shy. It is really a matter of confidence or a lack of confidence in approaching certain people or situations. Introversion is a measure of how we process information internally versus externally. And the process comes very natural for introverts. You don't choose introversion or extroversion, just like you don't choose being left-handed or right-handed, but you can choose to embrace it. So shyness is a measure of self-confidence or a lack of self-confidence, and this can vary by situation. The good news is there are things that you can do to gain confidence and overcome shyness. I'm not talking about being something you're not or changing a life that you're happy with. I'm speaking to those that are not as confident as they want to be and are not getting what they want out of life. And some introverts are already very confident. I know some very outspoken introverts, and some have learned to be confident, and some lucky ones have always been that way. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being quiet or living a quiet life. Please don't misunderstand me. What I'm talking about is when you want your voice to be heard, when you want more social connection, or you want to approach life in a way that your lack of confidence is preventing. Maybe there is someone in your life, such as a child or another family member or colleague at work, that you want to understand and that you want to be more helpful to as they gain more confidence and possibly overcome shyness. We are going to talk about some things to consider as an introvert to gain confidence or overcome shyness. There can be many causes, so I'm not pretending that this is an exhaustive list, and I'm not saying that all shyness could be related to introversion. I just know that there are some things about introversion, if you don't understand, it could make you shy or could take away some of your confidence. I used to be shy when I was younger. I'm no longer shy, but will always be an introvert. Now I say I'm not shy, but I'm a very happy introvert. Early on in my journey, I did read a few books on shyness to try to fix what I thought was wrong with me. Unfortunately, the books I read on shyness really didn't help at all. Looking back now, I realized that these type of books, at least for me, they didn't get at the root of who I was or why I was the way I was. These books were not talking about my introverted traits, such as spending a lot of time thinking and needing to think before speaking, or how to work with these traits instead of against them. I realized years later that I could overcome shyness, but introversion was with me to stay. And again, introversion, it's a beautiful thing. A great part of my success in life has been using my introverted gifts, such as the ability to think deeply and analyze things and look at the big picture and see how all the details fall into place. And I've become more aware of my unique strengths and abilities. I've become more confident in social situations. And because I know that I may not be like everybody else, it's a good thing. I have my own gifts and strengths, and so do you. Your gifts and strengths are not necessarily going to look like mine either. You have strengths, and you need to remember that is what makes you unique. So, a book on overcoming shyness and not considering your introverted nature could be helpful, as there could be other causes that are causing your lack of confidence or shyness. But in my opinion, if introversion is at the root of your shyness, it's more important to understand the components that are inherent in your personality. the things that can't be changed, as well as your strategies to use your strengths for success. And also, it's so helpful to learn from a fellow introvert strategies to overcome your shyness. I'm going to share a few ideas on how introversion may contribute to shyness, but how understanding can lead to greater self confidence. As your self confidence grows, your shyness will fade away and you can embrace your introversion. It's all relative, and you're the judge of your happiness. For example, if your goal is to have your voice heard and make more social connection, no matter how much you speak or say, you still may be too quiet for some. So, I was in a meeting one on one, and I thought I was carrying on my share of the conversation. There was a lot of back and forth discussion. Again, it was one on one. And as we were finishing up the meeting, the person said to me that I was a man of few words. At first, I was taken back and I thought, man, that's insulting. I was talking plenty. What's he talking about? But instead, I chose to take this as a compliment. I am a thinker, and a deep thinker at that. I have many constant thoughts, and my mind is always putting them together. It's a gift to think before speaking and put all your thoughts together in a succinct manner, not wasting words. Yes, I am a man of few words compared to an extroverted friend, but I have so many thoughts. I naturally think before speaking, and my extroverted friend speaks in order to think. This is not good or bad or right or wrong. Everyone has a natural way of being, and everyone has a unique set of gifts. If you are a man or woman of few words, be proud. If you encounter a man or woman of few words, listen. The words they express are likely to be their best pieces of wisdom. They are only sharing what they feel are their best thoughts. Never assume that just because someone is not talking continuously that they're not engaged. Just listen and give them a chance to speak. Often introverts may be incorrectly perceived as being shy because of the need for us to think before we speak. As introverts, we are thinking before speaking, and it's not in a self-censoring way, but very naturally. We are asked a question, the question goes into our minds, spins around a bit, and then a response comes out. When I didn't understand this about myself, I could get run over by those that talked in order to think. I felt less than adequate in these situations, and my self confidence waned. But by understanding how I operate, that I think first and then speak, I've come to accept this trait. Now I let people know when I'm thinking so I can take the time that I need. As people get to know you, they will learn to respect that about you. I have a friend that more than once in a meeting has said, hey, David needs some time to think about that. It's pretty nice. It's so important to get to know your friends and colleagues and what they need, and also let them know the same about you, what you need. I've learned that I can prepare for certain conversations, meetings, presentations ahead of time, and so I don't always have to take as much time in the situation for that on the spot thinking. I've already thought about it a lot. And in conversations where I'm the expert, I've already spent so much time thinking that my words will come out much more freely. But when I'm in situations where I have to pause and think, I've learned to relax and let my thoughts do their best work. And I say things such as, give me a minute to think about that, or I'm thinking, or let me get back to you tomorrow. You can come up with some similar strategies. Again, be confident and let those you work with and those in your personal life know what you need and how you do your best work. Unfortunately, as a result of being labeled as too quiet over time, we may also be more wary of social situations. We start to believe that something is wrong with us, possibly even making the shyness label become a reality. I've often heard people tell others, especially children, just come out of your shell. You just need to come out of your shell. It's usually used negatively, meaning that they need to be more friendly or confident or outgoing. I've never liked this expression. Have you ever been told Why are you so quiet? How does the quiet person respond? No, I'm not. It really usually makes things worse, leaving the quiet person even more speechless. Have you had this experience as a child or as an adult? If you encounter a quiet person, just engage them. Don't judge them. Give them a chance to speak. If you're told you're too quiet enough times, especially as a child, you might start to feel shy. So help me, and let's please tell others to stop saying things like, you are too quiet, or you need to come out of your shell, to either adults or children. A better approach is to keep your judgments and labels to yourself and instead provide a positive and nurturing atmosphere that encourages expression when the quiet person has something to share. Relax and don't feel uncomfortable in the silence, that allowing the introvert time to think. Pause so that he or she has a place to comment, and recognize that introverts have usually given a lot of thought to what they have to contribute, and so it's probably important enough to listen to. You'll find that once you get to know a quiet person, they may have quite a bit to say. Confidence or self confidence comes when you believe that you have great value, much to offer, and are worthwhile in your uniqueness. Are you a confident introvert? If not, this is something you can change. You can gain confidence in your worth and uniqueness and the gifts you have to offer the world. We all have individual strengths and needs. Confidence comes knowing what our own strengths are and not comparing ourselves to others. I have gained much confidence in myself through gaining self awareness and understanding my strengths and needs. For example, at a past conference I attended, I reflected on some of the examples of how becoming more self aware helped me and gain confidence. I often go to conferences for work. Of course, this past year they've been more virtual. In conferences, there's usually a lot of different topics and a lot of different formats. And because of the topics and settings are always changing, these type of activities can be uncomfortable situations for introverts. This particular conference I'm thinking about was a 2-day conference. There was some lecture, some panels, a lot of small group discussion. Throughout the conference, we were placed in small groups to discuss various topics. I did know a few people attending, but most of the people I was meeting for the first time. There was one discussion where I was not familiar with the topic, but everyone was supposed to express an opinion. As an introvert, I usually like to think before speaking, and I like to have given the topic some thought before expressing my view. In this case, I didn't have a fully formed opinion for this small group discussion that I was ready to talk about. The self doubt began to creep in. What if I had to speak? An introvert can feel a lot of pressure in these situations. In this case, I relaxed, listened to the discussion. I made a couple comments on the comments of others. I wasn't put on the spot, but if I had been, I have learned to be honest. I could say, let me think about that. Or someone else took my answer. This is not something I'm directly familiar with, so I'll pass. Or let me get back to you. I could have also done a little preparation and study before the conference, but that's not always going to be possible. So I've learned to be comfortable with my expertise in admitting when I'm not the expert on a particular topic. So at the same conference, in another discussion, I was the expert, and I probably monopolized most of the conversation. The topic was something I had given a lot of thought to, and I had a lot of expertise in. I had a lot to say without further thought, as I'm very good at seeing the big picture and analyzing all the information I can get my hands on, and then coming up with some great ideas. So, with this strength of mind, I need to recognize that I need some time to think. I also need to recognize when I come across an unfamiliar topic that there's nothing wrong with me. I just need more time to process, or just admit that this isn't something I'm familiar with. But I can join in the conversation and make my contributions as appropriate. I may need to ask for a little time to think about something, and I may even need to get back to someone after the conversation or discussion is over. This is just one example of how my self awareness has given me more self confidence. I think this is a common struggle for introverts as we often need to think before speaking. And often we need time to prepare and ideally think about the conversations ahead of time. Where else do you need a boost of confidence? Another area is what I call going from the inside to the outside. As an introvert, I naturally spend more time in my head and don't always notice my surroundings. This can produce feelings of anxiety as you try to navigate new situations in unfamiliar places because you're trying to process your surroundings and what's going on externally while you're naturally turning internally. This shift in processing may be uncomfortable if you're spending most of the time in your head. I've learned to manage this. I arrive places early, maybe do some research online ahead of time to see where I'm going and what to expect. Slow down, take a deep breath, and remember, most people don't like unfamiliar situations. So I am a deep thinker. Do you think deep thoughts? One of my strengths as an introvert is to think deeply and often. There have been many times in my life where I have shared a deep thought and got a funny look. So in my case, sharing deep thoughts has made me shy in the past. I've come to realize that often when others have not put in the time to analyze information, my well thought out ideas may seem a bit crazy. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means I may need to spend more time explaining concepts that may seem obvious to me and stand my ground if I'm not being heard. I've learned that my analytical ability is something great about me. As I have gained more experience in sharing my deep thoughts, I've been able to put forth some truly innovative ideas that have been successfully implemented. And now, when I share ideas, people listen. Just remember that it is thinking differently that has changed the world. It's important. There is much that we can do to make our world a better place, and often it is the person who has that different thought that will make a difference. So be proud, share your thoughts, work on them, take your time, prepare. Just because someone else hasn't had the same thought, don't be discouraged. Be confident and keep pushing for what you know is right. How about small talk? Do you like small talk? I've never really enjoyed talking about the weather or the price of gas, and have often avoided these situations altogether. In the past, I did find myself in a small group or one on one with a person I didn't know well, and I found that if I wasn't interested in the conversation, I really didn't have something to say. Others probably thought I was too quiet, and I probably thought I was too quiet. As people, either introverts or extroverts, we all need relationships and connection. And I've learned that in building relationships, you have to start somewhere, and small talk may be the necessary gateway to get to those deeper conversations that you want to have. So I've gotten better at small talk, and we could definitely spend another episode on strategies for small talk. But I do accept that I may never be the master at it, but I'm better at it, and sometimes I even enjoy it. I've also learned not to worry about awkward silences because just keep in mind, if it's silent, you're not the only one. Another thing is to consider, don't compare yourself to others. We all have unique gifts, and no one person has all the gifts. I think about my son who's now taking Calculus 3. He has a gift for math. I'm pretty good at math, but the way his mind works naturally, he is far more gifted than me. He has the ability to see and understand concepts that are a little bit beyond me. In the past, I have compared myself to others. And for example, I listen to a lot of motivational speeches, and I think, man, that person has some great charisma. I wish I could be like that. But now I think, all right, what is my gift? I do enjoy speaking. I may not have the charisma I see somebody else has, but I can prepare for my speech. I can think about it. I can improve it. And I do really think that I have gotten better over time. And I'd like to think I can still continue to improve. But it's by using my strengths and not somebody else's. And you do have to work and practice and improving in your gifts, but it is your gifts. That's how you do your very best, is by practicing in your strengths. And of course, I have, and we all have, our important contributions to make. There is only one you, as they say. So be yourself and recognize your own strengths and value what you have to offer without comparing yourself to others. Another important thing is don't listen to labels. Again, back to the too quiet example, if people tell you that you're too quiet and shy long enough, you might eventually believe it. Labels can be helpful if you understand what a label means. So, for example, as an introvert, I think it can be really helpful to learn from other introverts and explain how to overcome challenges and move forward in your strengths as you compare to someone who's similar. If you're a fellow introvert, hopefully you're learning something from me right now where we might be similar. And if I was to get to know you, I could learn from you as well. But labels can hold people back from their full potential. For some reason, people like to categorize people into neat little boxes. And these boxes can be very limiting and confining. People might call somebody else slow or stubborn or strange or even stupid. Is this helping? I've learned to reject negative labels as they are very harmful. Instead, focus on what's great about yourself, where your strengths are, and traits or actions you can change and improve. If you're not locked in or limited by a label, there's no telling what you can accomplish. Another tip, you know what you like, right? So don't let anyone tell you your way is wrong. What's fun to you? You know what you think is fun and what you don't. You don't need someone else to define this for you. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try new things and change our comfort zone. Hey, did you notice what I said there? Change your comfort zone. I didn't say get out of your comfort zone. I believe you need to change your comfort zone, and let me explain. So, if I'm afraid of something, if I'm afraid of approaching a situation, someone might say to me, "Oh, just get out of your comfort zone." So, if I do that and I was afraid of a situation, I approach it, but I don't change my thoughts, then the next time that situation might continue to be scary for me. So, instead, as I approach a situation and analyze, why is this scary to me? I can tell myself, you can do this, and also figure out why it's not really scary. In this way, I am changing my comfort zone, and the next time the situation won't be scary, or maybe not as much. So it's not to get out of my comfort zone, but to change or expand my comfort zone. But back to what we like. I'm saying it's silly to let someone else define that for you. Maybe you like to go out on weekends, or maybe you like to stay in. Or maybe, as in my case, I like to do both, some combination. Maybe your extroverted friend thinks you stay in too much. You could be made to think that your way is wrong and lose confidence. Maybe sometimes you want to go out and sometimes you want to stay in. Maybe sometimes you want to watch a movie or read a book or a number of other different things. And it's up to you what you find enjoyable. Of course, there's always give and take in a relationship. You may go out sometimes when you may not feel like it for a friend. But again, it's up to you what you like. I was talking to a couple, and the woman was telling me, I love to go out dancing, but my husband doesn't. So, in talking with them further, he said he did enjoy it. But after a few hours, and when it was getting late, he was ready to go home and relax. In her case, she was just getting started after a few hours. And of course, as an extrovert, she feeds off the social interaction. So, there was nothing wrong with either person. But of course, an understanding goes a long way in knowing yourself. So don't let others define you, and don't feel bad about the things that you like. So I'm not shy anymore. I have greatly reduced my anxiety by just the things that we've discussed today. I have a new sense of confidence and also calmness by understanding my introversion. It's funny when people say, "Oh, I used to be an introvert," or "I used to be an extrovert." It doesn't work like that. For example, I'm a deep thinker, and I always will be. And this comes to me very naturally. I can come to be a more confident introvert But that doesn't make me an extrovert. I will always be an introvert, as my thoughts are directed inward more often than not. But again, shyness can be overcome and confidence gained. So, do you relate to any of the things that we discussed today? Are there other things that you realized are making you shy? Again, it might not be a misunderstanding of introversion that's causing shyness. What are the issues that may still be holding you back? Of course, we can continue to visit this important topic on overcoming shyness and gaining confidence again. We could also have some guests on the topic as well. I may still appear quiet at times. I'm always going to spend time in my head. It's a great thing about me. I come up with great ideas. I enjoy it. Sometimes I need to be alone. Sometimes I don't mind being alone, and often I do need company. I've learned that I can create the friendships and connections I want and can be very successful, make my voice heard, have the power to change my thoughts, control my fears, and have a calmness in my life, and be strong, and so can you. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to further connecting with you. Reach out at quietandstrong.com. My email is david@quietandstrong.com. I will add social media channels to the show notes. Send me topics and questions, and we can address these on the show. There's so many great things about being an introvert, and so we need those to be understood. Let's keep the conversation going. Get to know your introverted strengths and needs, and be strong.